What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the possibility of seeing a faithful Mob of the Dead remastered within Black Ops 4 Zombies. Now, this obviously sparks plenty of controversy since not many people do like the new perk system here within Black Ops 4 Zombies. And to briefly go over that, what I'll say about the new perk system is that I really do like the modifiers, being able to spawn in with any set of 4 perks you want, choosing which ones spawn on which map. It's really cool to have that versus having exclusive perks on exclusive maps. I like the fact that I could use Blood Wolf Bite, Zombshell, Ethereal Razor, whatever new perks are added in any of the zombie maps across both the Ether and Chaos storyline. I really like that. I really dig the modifiers. I think it's cool to not have to worry about the crutch perk Juggernog whenever you hop into a game of zombies. I love spawning in with essentially what is Juggernog and then being able to get Speed Cola and Double Tap for free by buying all perks to get Speed Cola and then pack punching your weapon, was it 4 to 5 times to get Double Tap. I love being able to do that to essentially get 2 other perks for free, while you can freely choose any other of the new perks they've added. Since in the original Call of Duty Zombies system, let it be Black Ops 1, Black Ops 3, you're really gonna be going for Juggernog, Speed Cola, Double Tap. Then maybe as that 4th slot, if you're not gonna be a team player, or maybe if you're not playing solo, you'll be bold and you go ahead and choose Stamina Up or Deadshot or Electric Cherry, whatever that perk could be. And obviously Black Ops 3 is a bit of a different story since usually everybody popped the Perkaholic when they hopped into a game of zombies, so perks didn't really matter all that much. But I just love the fact that Black Ops 4 introduced a lot of small tweaks, especially with the perks, to where if you go down, you lose one by one instead of all of them at once. Something they actually took from, I think, Exo Zombies and IW. Really cool feature there. The fact that when you completely bleed out, you'll spawn back with your weapons. Another great feature that hasn't been in the Treyarch Zombies before. So I think those little tweaks are great. I just think the aesthetic of these tweaks is what bothers people. So we're going to get to Mob of the Dead in a moment, but as I've also gone over in previous videos, the issue is that this new perk system fits so well with the actual perk statues and the Chaos storyline. Everything just fits Chaos, but when it comes to Ether, it just doesn't look right. It might not even feel right for all that matters, since we're used to iconic perk machines that make sounds tied to that specific perk. Such cool things that were just tied to the original Zombies lore. But when it comes to story, what we could say is that why would there be Gobblegums and those iconic perk machines in a broken Psycho universe where Monty isn't helping us? That's the best explanation we could think of when it comes to why things like elixirs and perks are different in this current iteration of zombies. Now, I personally don't have a problem with the HUD, but I can understand everybody's viewpoints when it comes to why it looks a bit clunky, not as clean as Black Ops 3, not as aesthetically pleasing. But honestly, if I picture Black Ops 4 with just Chaos maps, I don't see anybody complaining about the new perk system or the HUD or anything they've added into the game itself. When it comes to Ether also having to use those systems, that's when I see issues with the community. But me personally, I'm fine with all of it. So if they did add a faithful remaster of Mob of the Dead and some other maps out there to Black Ops 4, it'll obviously have those perk systems and all these new tweaks, since they can't just make a map have an exclusive perk system with a different HUD. They just can't do that. So obviously it would have to utilize all the mechanics of Black Ops 4. So when it comes to that, I'm okay with it. But I've seen lots of people out there specifically say that they don't want a DLC 5 or a Victus Chronicles in Black Ops 4 because of a few simple things: the perk system and the HUD. Now when I look at that, I'm like, wait, why would you want Victus Chronicles to be in the Black Ops 2020 reboot instead? Yes, obviously it'll be on a new engine, so it'll probably look more pleasing than Black Ops 4, but when you really look at that, why would they add in faithful remasters or even remakes for that matter in a game that's supposed to reboot the Black Ops franchise, both campaign-wise and zombies-wise? It just would not make sense. What I could see though is them announcing the Black Ops 2020 reboot, and from there saying pre-order now and get a code for Victus Chronicles that'll be playable in Black Ops 4. That's what I could see happening in terms of Black Ops 2020 somehow having a relation to the actual Victus Chronicles pack. But I don't think it makes sense at all whatsoever to release Chronicles or any type of remasters or remakes that's essentially for the old Ether story when they're trying to reboot it completely from the ground up in this new Black Ops 2020 reboot. It just does not work. So what that goes with is the idea of a Mob of the Dead remaster. So it's very interesting how at one point there was a plan to have a full year 2 of content for Black Ops 4 and Zombies in its entirety. So the original plan, which is quite weird, was to have the Black Ops Pass only only provide us with 4 Chaos maps. And the evidence behind that is not only from leaks, but the fact that the PlayStation Store specifically provided a description for the Black Ops Pass in the sense that it would provide us with new episodes or new zombies maps that feature Scarlet and the gang. Nowhere in there did it say that it would be a split between the Chaos and Ether storylines. Unfortunately, when Chaos wasn't received too well, and when their budget was cut, they had to say, fuck it, we can't do Chaos for DLC 3 and 4, and instead would have to return to the Ether storyline and somehow end that story in a few less maps when it comes to Black Ops 4, while the original plan, as I understand, would have been to actually bring the Ether back during year 2. Along with that, there were rumors and whispers behind the scenes that we would have also saw faithful remasters for Mob of the Dead and even Call of the Dead at some point in year 2. We just have no idea, but when it comes to Mob of the Dead specifically, there's a lot that could have happened with that, but obviously it requires budget. It requires budget to get the licensing to use the voice actors and celebrities that were featured on the original Mob of the Dead to be put back in this faithful remaster. And obviously, it would just be there for gameplay purposes, maybe a few tweaks here and there, since obviously when Mob of the Dead and Call of the Dead and some other Black Ops 1 and 2 maps were made, they were made for last generation platforms, so they were very limited in terms of hardware. So the maps could be tweaked a little bit, similar to Zombies Chronicles, where you do see a couple tweaks here and there that really just ease the gameplay, just increase the flow, build more fluency with how the map flow really is. They could have done a lot of things like that when it comes to bringing back a faithful Mob of the Dead, and would also make up for people who just don't like Blood of the Dead as a remake. There's people out there who want to play the original Mob of the Dead, and your best bet is honestly going to max settings on PC for Black Ops 2, or playing the faithful remaster that somebody actually made as a custom map for Black Ops 3 Zombies. So all in all, we have no idea how many agendas and plans and all those things changed behind the scenes, but at one point there was a Mob of the Dead remastered plan. But unfortunately, looking at it now, with the situation that Treyarch is in, having to rush a Black Ops 2020, pick up the slack of Sledgehammer and Raven, and lead a project they weren't originally doing, with having to do all that, seeing a Mob of the Dead remaster just isn't likely within Black Ops 4. What I will say is that it could be a possibility as a bonus map for a season pass bonus, something like that, but in terms of storyline, would throw a lot of people off. But for all we know, they can easily do a faithful remaster of Mob of the Dead on the new engine that Modern Warfare is currently on, that Treyarch's also going to use for the Black Ops reboot. You could easily see that for Call of Duty 2020, but in terms of story, just would not make sense, and if anything, confuses players rather than excites them. But again, it can go both ways. Some people out there don't care about story, just gameplay, they just want to see Mob of the Dead as a faithful remaster. Other people out there will be just getting introduced to this new Ether storyline and could get confused by some of the Ether elements that are featured on Mob of the Dead. But if you look at it from a different point of view, you can also say that Mob of the Dead as a map was kind of made as a one-off, just a celebrity map that had a couple of ties to the Ether. Obviously, the Weasel mentioned Nikolai, there's some other ciphers and stuff around the map too, but it was really a standalone kind of map until Origins and Black Ops 3 really brought Mob of the Dead to the forefront in terms of the blood vials being important, the mobsters, Alcatraz, the lab. That's when Mob of the Dead became a much more important map. So I guess you could say featuring a faithful remaster of it in the 2020 reboot could work because the storyline won't be too confusing, but just looking at how they've handled things in the past, it could be quite weird to have a map taking place from a whole different storyline and then a map taking place in a reboot of that story. It would even look better to be on the new engine. It would definitely please a lot of people out there as a cool season pass bonus, but it would be weird to see that we have a Blood of the Dead, Mob of the Dead remake for Black Ops 4's launch, then you also have a faithful Mob of the Dead remaster for the launch of Call of Duty 2020. But Activision probably wouldn't care, since obviously they have no issue with remastering Modern Warfare 2, which is still going to come out at some point, while they're also rebooting the Modern Warfare franchise with a new story with familiar faces, but going in a different direction. So remastering Modern Warfare 2 is also questionable because it's not bringing you up to speed on anything. It's just going to be there for nostalgia in terms of the multiplayer experience, because the campaign will do nothing for you in terms of the Modern Warfare story, and it's not bringing you up to speed on anything important, since the upcoming 2019 release of Modern Warfare is taking place in an entirely new universe, just using familiar faces and a familiar franchise name. So for all we know, Activision would have no care in the world releasing a faithful Mob of the Dead remaster in a game that's rebooting the Ether storyline on the new engine. So anything is possible at this point, but if they were to do a Victus Chronicles, which they are, but we'll just keep it with a grain of salt right now, it would definitely be in Black Ops 4 Zombies, since it would not make sense whatsoever to remake maps that fill in a gap between Alpha Omega and Call of the Dead and put that into next year's Call of Duty release. Unfortunately, you're going to have to suck it up and enjoy the new perk system and the new mechanics in the game as we get these heavy remakes of Transit, Die Rise, and Buried, which I've been told fix everything that was wrong with the originals, since obviously there was a lot of hardware limitations at the time when those maps released in Black Ops 2. So overall, Black Ops 4 is a smooth game, does a lot right, and definitely fixes a lot of things that were honestly some pretty minor issues in previous Black Ops games, but definitely make the experience a lot smoother on current gen platforms. When it comes to the game not looking as pretty, obviously that will take away from potential Mob of the Dead Remastered, but it's simply the artistic choice from the devs, which is why Black Ops 4 looks a little bit different than Black Ops 3 did. It's not necessarily anything tied to Blackout, but there have been rumors and whispers in the community that Blackout's size and how rushed the game was really takes away from the resolution and rendered graphics in other game modes. So it could be a mix of a couple of things, right? You have the artistic choice, you have Blackout being big, and just kind of downscaling every other game mode. So a couple of issues with the game itself, but at least the cutscenes do look pretty damn nice. But when it comes to a faithful Mob of the Dead Remaster in Black Ops 4, it's always possible. The assets are already there in Blood of the Dead, they're already there in Alcatraz Portal, so just about anything could happen. But when it comes to their budget and their time constraint, having to clutch another Call of Duty in 2020, it just doesn't seem like they have any other time to work on Black Ops 4 aside from polishing the DLC 5 maps or Victus Chronicles, which I've been told are already done and have been done for quite a while thanks to the assets that were put in Blackout for Lighthouse and the other Victus maps. But that's about it. This has been dkdynamite. Check out links down below in the description. What do you guys think about Mob of the Dead Remastered? Would you rather have it in Black Ops 4, the Call of Duty 2020 reboot, even though it wouldn't make sense, or would you rather not see one at all just to make sure it stays as nostalgic and classic as possible? That is about it. Let me know your thoughts, and peace out, everyone.